I lost my grandfather a week ago. Literally 3 days after my business turned 5 years old. This is the man that instilled hustle in me. This is the man that kept telling me, time waits for no man. What impact have you made? And if you cannot answer that question, if you cannot say to yourself the impact that you have made and the impact that you will leave on this world, it's because you haven't done enough. Dear Lord, welcome to the first official episode of the Hustle Talks podcast. If you have been subscribed to my YouTube channel, The Brand Hustler, for a while, or maybe even if you're new and you just binged a ton of my videos, you may have noticed or you may have been a part of Hustle Talks Live, which was a live series that I held in 2023 during the summer, where I came on live every single Monday to have raw and real conversation around entrepreneurship, so that way we can level up and be our very best selves and our very best bosses, CEOs, all the things. However, I stopped, right? So once the summer was over with, we kind of stopped doing Hustle Talks and we shifted focus to our very first annual event, the Brand Takeoff. And then after that, we just got into the groove of 2024. But Hustle Talks kept popping up in my mind. I kept saying that this was something that I felt like wasn't just a one-time thing. This was something that really needed to be just planted in my legacy and in this company's history pretty much forever. And so I kept asking myself, okay, when am I returning to Hustle Talks? What is that going to look like? And I knew that I wanted to mold it into a full podcast, but I never put a date on it. And what's interesting about how God works, right, is I happened to be coaching someone one-on-one, and I had her revisit some of my Hustle Talks lives just to pay attention to how I told stories. And she ended up voice recording to me, crying because the message that I delivered in a particular Hustle Talks episode really touched her and moved her. And when I heard her crying on the phone, I was like, OMG, I definitely need to bring Hustle Talks back, because when you get caught up in the middle of things, you can forget how impactful what you're doing actually is, right? Because I coach and I talk so much and I teach so much, and motivation, I guess, kind of just comes out of my mouth. I don't realize how sometimes it could be the small things, the small messages, the small stories that could really stick with somebody and help them turn their entire life around, help them shift their entire mindset, help them actually get up and do something, or even help them deal with pain in a different way so that they're able to see the brighter side of things when it's all said and done, right? We can get so caught up in things that we forget that the little things that we do are actually very, very powerful and impactful. And so once I heard that voice note of her crying, I decided that I wanted more. I wanted Hustle Talks to come back, but I needed it to come back with a bigger impact. I needed it to be on more platforms, because originally it was literally just me going live on YouTube. And so I wanted it to be on more platforms to reach more people. I wanted it to not just be video, but also to be audio. So if you are taking a jog, if you're driving to work, picking your kids up, doing some errands, some chores, whatever the case may be, you could listen and still get the message, right? Still get the lessons, still get the gems, still get all of the things. I also wanted it to be more than just me. We are going to have our time together. I absolutely love talking to my hustle babes one-on-one, But I also know that I have some impactful people within my reach that I would love to have just real, honest, raw conversations with. And I'm excited to be bringing those people on the official version of the Hustle Talks podcast. And then last but not least, I really wanted more transparency, right? Because what would happen is when I would go live, I had to also interact with people. And sometimes when balancing interaction with what I'm sharing, it can be hard to get the full story out. It can be hard to go really deep because I have to stop what I'm doing to then interact with everybody else to make sure that they are getting what they need out of this live. And this is not to say that those lives aren't amazing. I absolutely love interacting with my hustle babes and with my community whenever I possibly can. But because I know that episodes that are about to be released in the official version of the Hustle Talks podcast are meant to be felt, I need to make sure that the stories, that the lessons, that the messages are portrayed all the way through without interruption. And that is why I am so excited, right? And it's really going to allow me, right? This version of Hustle Talks, or I should say the official version of Hustle Talks with Chanel Q, the brand hustler, it's really going to allow me to go deeper into the good, the bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship. I realize that people tend to see entrepreneurship as just this big, shiny object that once you achieve it, everything in your life is just amazing. And although you do receive an abundance of blessings if you execute the steps correctly, although that is great and that's the good side of entrepreneurship, there's also some bad that comes with entrepreneurship. There's also some ugly sides to entrepreneurship. And it would be doing a disservice to you if I didn't talk to you about those things. Because what I want for the people within my community is I want you to be able to step fully into entrepreneurship or even to continue your journey of entrepreneurship with the proper mindset, with the proper skill set, and with the proper habits that will allow you to conquer all of the challenges that you are going to be faced with. See, what happens when people just focus on the good of entrepreneurship and just talk about the wins and brag about how much money they made or brag about how fast they grew on a certain platform, what happens when people only do that is they do not give you the toolbox so you are ready and prepared for every single battle, every single obstacle that you are going to face. Entrepreneurship is not a smooth road. It is a roller coaster, just like anything else in life, right? This is not some type of golden ticket. You have to be prepped for it. You have to be mentally strong for it. You have to be physically strong for it. And it would honestly not do me any good for me to not tell you that. And that is why I am so happy that I got it together. And I am coming out with this Hustle Talks podcast. And you're probably wondering, Chanel, you talk about launch strategy all of the time. You tell us we need to do pre-launch and we need to have like a rollout strategy and all of the things and get our audience excited and anticipation and blah, blah, blah. But you just dropping this podcast on us like this, like what in the world are you doing and what is happening? And as I talk through this episode today, this inaugural episode of the official Hustle Talks podcast, you are going to learn exactly why I did this, right? But what I want you to take away from this is Hustle Talks is different. It's different than my sit down videos. It's different than my vlogs. Heck, it's even different than my live sessions. This podcast is literally going to be a space where I am able to give you the insight, right? The raw insight that will help you build resilience. This is where I will be able to tell you the untold stories behind the hustle. This is where I am going to be able to really help you create actionable strategies, give you transformation with the wisdom that I give you. And honestly, this is where we're going to be able to have authentic conversations so that way you can be the best entrepreneur possible. So whether it is me having a guest or whether it's me having a solo episode like this one, we are going to talk about stuff that the other successful entrepreneurs don't. Right? And I got to put successful in quotes because sometimes what you see on Instagram is not really true. So this is not to say that all of the entrepreneurs that you are seeing that look successful aren't, but it is just to say that some of them may not be. So I'm just going to put air quotes because I don't know all the entrepreneurs that are on Instagram and I can't give them a title if I don't know, right? And so we are going deep, right? We are talking about things that other successful entrepreneurs don't talk about, like how to build a brand that actually has longevity that you can pass on to your children. And hopefully they can pass it on to their children, right? Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to pour so much money, so much sweat, so much time into something that dies when I do. I want it to live on. Whether that means you're turning it into a foundation or whether that means you are going to pick up the baton and continue to run it. I want to build a brand with longevity, right? And although I'm in my 5th year of business, I can't wait to see what it's like once my business is up and running for 10 years and 15 years and 20 years and so on and so forth. And the other businesses that I'm creating are also running on their 10th and 15th and 20th year, right? I am not in this just for a quick buck. And if you are watching this or listening to this and your sole purpose of getting into business is just to make a quick buck because you are money hungry, this is not going to be the space for you because the strategies that I am going to teach are not just strategies to get money real quick and go about your day. They are strategies that will take effort. There are strategies that may take time. But what happens is you are able to build a brand that is so bulletproof that you can honestly outlast anything and anyone in any industry. Those are the types of things that we are talking about on this podcast. Not just the shiny things, but how to really do the work to build a brand with longevity. I am also going to be sharing things like how to actually build a CEO brand. The cool thing about the world that we live in now is as a CEO, you can actually be a brand, right? And that means you can also generate revenue on top of what your business is already generating. I do this consistently, right? I make money from different places solely because I operate a business as a CEO and I have built what's called a CEO brand, aka a personal brand for your business. I'm also going to be talking about things that other entrepreneurship podcasts and other successful entrepreneurs don't talk about, such as what do you do when you lose friends? Because in entrepreneurship, as you scale, you are going to lose friends, right? You're going to have those people who maybe they were your day ones and they ain't your day ones no more. And nobody really talks about that kind of uncertainty that begins to weigh on you when you lose that friend, right? Because you begin to second guess, should I be doing entrepreneurship? Should I be going so hard because I can't spend as much time with my friends and family? Or am I really a great friend because I can't go to every single celebration because I have this or I have that, or I can't do this, and you start to second guess yourself as a friend, right? Or as a daughter or as a sister, or whoever the case may be. Nobody really talks about that. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the real things that happen in my life, right? And in some of my guest lives, they're going to talk about those things and we are going to share how you can actually conquer those things, right? Like, Hustle Talks is really a space for raw and honest conversation, raw and honest strategies that go hard. Not only the strategies that go hard, but also you are going to be able to build the mindset that goes hard, that allows you to continue to go and go and go and go, even in moments of doubt, even in moments of fear, and even in moments of grief. Because guess what else entrepreneurs don't talk about, right? Guess what else they don't talk about? They aren't talking about, or at least talking deeply enough about, grief and how losing a parental figure can cause a shift in your mood, can cause a shift in your mindset, and can cause a shift in just your energy, right? Losing a parental figure can, or losing anyone in general, can have you wanting to give up. I lost my grandfather 1 week ago. So from the time of me sitting here and recording this podcast, I lost my grandfather a week ago. Literally 3 days after my business turned 5 years old. This is the man that raised me in a little island. He was the man who went out every single day. My grandmother didn't have to work a day in her life. He went out every single day and came home to make sure that food was on the table. This is the man who literally moved to the United States to make sure that he could continue to raise me so that I can blossom into who I am today. This is literally the man who would wait for me outside of school 5 minutes before school was out to know that I was safe and he would escort me home. That is who I lost 3 days after my business turned 5. That is who I lost 1 week ago, right? And what I realized in that loss is that this man taught me all of those things, but most importantly, this is the man that instilled hustle in me. This is the man that kept telling me, time waits for no man. And honestly, that is what I actually want to talk about in this episode. Time waits for no man. So, as I'm sitting here recording this impromptu episode of Hustle Talks, I want to reel it back in. Because I told you that, yes, I am the person who tells you to have a launch strategy all of the time. And in the case of this Hustle Talks podcast, I did want to have a rollout strategy. But what happened was I lost a father figure, right? And what that did was that ignited something in me, because as I reflected on all of those memories from my childhood, from my teenhood, I don't know if that's a word, from my adulthood, and as I started to reflect on how certain lessons were instilled in me to build me into who I am, that allowed me to act on certain things, I said, you know what, Chanel? Stop tiptoeing around this podcast and just do it. Do it in the name of your grandparents, because now I got not one, but two angels that are looking down on me, right? I lost my grandmother in 2016, right before I graduated college. My world shattered. She was literally like my mother, right? Now I lost my grandfather, her husband, 3 days after my business turned 5. If anything, what I want you to grasp from this is that you don't have forever. You may not even have tomorrow, okay? So what you need to do is you need to figure out what the goal is, what dream or goal has been placed on your heart that you have been tiptoeing around executing, and actually go out and do that thing. Stop waiting for the right time. Stop waiting for, I don't know, a pot of gold to fall down into your lap that will give you some immense amount of money that you think you need to go out there and actually start the business or execute the strategy to grow the business. Stop waiting on that and figure out what you can do right now. Figure out what you can do right now to make it happen. Okay? So let's talk about my grandfather really quick, right? Let's bring it back really quick, because I tend to go in my bag sometimes, and you're gonna notice that with episodes. Is sometimes I go in my bag, and that's not what I had on the notes, but I just go wherever I felt led, right? And what I realized, reflecting on all the things that was instilled in me, I noticed that a lot of things that I'm good at has to do with impact. I also realized that I'm really good with motivating and sharing and teaching and all the things. And so what I want you to ask yourself is, what are you really good at? What are you really good at? And once you've identified some things that you're really good at, ask yourself, who instilled those things in you? I am able to say that I am really good at sharing positive messages and motivating people because my grandfather was a man who could recite any verse of the Bible, who could sing any hymn, who could say any idiom, who could literally tell you in a sentence, hey, time waits for no man, so what you doing? Or can literally say that if you're on time, you're late. Can literally just tell you these little things that will really have you checking yourself like, wait a minute. That's true. Time really don't wait for nobody. That's true. If I'm on time, I am technically late because by the time I get there, I need a little break. And then I blink and now 2 minutes has passed past the time I was supposed to be there, right? But the reason I'm able to spin things and make them into these impactful messages were because of him. So when you ask yourself what you're good at, and then you ask yourself who instilled those things in you, you may end up saying maybe a sibling, maybe your mother, maybe your father, maybe you're like me and it's one of your grandparents or both of them. And that's cool. But now let's get deeper. Because I want you to ask yourself now, what have you done for others? See, what I just did there was I told you what my grandfather did for me. And then I told you how that transfers into what I do in my day-to-day. And this is something that I didn't just start doing when I started a business. I've been this positive-minded, motivating individual. I've been the person with a plan A through Z. I've been that person. So now I'm asking, what type of person have you been? And who have you been that person for? Answer that. And feel free to comment, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, comment all the answers to the questions that I'm asking, because I really want to know. Now, let's go deeper. Now that you've identified, hopefully, and if you ain't identified nothing, ooh, baby, the next few minutes are going to hit home for you. But now that you've answered that last question, I want you to ask yourself, how have you changed lives? And what you might do, right? Or what some of y'all might do, because it might not just be you. It might be a couple other people watching too. What some of you guys may do is you may take the easy way out and say, well, I put a roof over my child's head, so I changed their lives because I brought them into this world and I make sure that they're protected. Okay. That's cool, but that's not what I'm talking about. How have you changed lives? Can you pinpoint at least one thing that you do on a consistent basis that impacts someone's life? Now let's get deeper, because this is the real question. What impact have you made? What impact have you made? See, when I talk about my grandfather, I can tear up because this man made an impact, not only on me, but I'm sure on all of his grandchildren. And I know for a fact on his kids, because my dad is amazing. And I can see things from my grandfather in my dad. I can also see habits and certain things and certain things, respectful things and all the things that my dad does that I know came from my grandfather. So I can clearly see the impact. I can see the impact past that. What impact have you made? And if you cannot answer that question, if you cannot say to yourself the impact that you have made and the impact that you will leave on this world, it's because you haven't done enough. And you know that you haven't done enough. Me telling you that is not me trying to say that, oh, my grandfather was better than you, or, oh, I'm better than you in any way, shape, or form. The reason I'm telling you that is because guess what? Impact is something that lives beyond you. Impact is something that lives beyond you. The reason we can still talk about Michael Jackson is because of the impact he had. The reason you probably have a great Aunt Sally that's still talked about to this day is because of the impact she had. There's some people that will be forgotten. There's some people that will not. Which one will you be? What type of person will you be? Because you have even thought about having a successful business. Because you even have that thought, you already have a path where you can make an impact and leave that on the world. But instead of you taking that seriously and taking that as your job, you are out here literally playing around. You tiptoeing around this business idea for the past however many months or however many years. You got this business that you pick up and you put down whenever it is that you feel like it. If you feel like doing business this year, you do business this year. If you don't feel it like doing it next year, you don't do it next year. You over here cutting corners in every way, shape, or form, giving your business 1 hour a month, or giving your business $10 that you've left over after you done spent $900 eating out. What are you doing? Really ask yourself, what are you doing? Because what I don't want to happen is I don't want you to come every week and watch a Hustle Talks episode and just walk away and do nothing with it. I want you to come and take the information, take the gems, take the insight, take the motivation, and mold it into action steps. And you actually need to execute them. Because I want to build a community of impactors. The people in my community don't sit around and do nothing. If you see there's a problem, you solve it. You also know that you wholeheartedly go after your goals because you have a vision. That vision was given to you for a reason. It doesn't matter who sees the vision. It doesn't matter who understands the vision. If you understand it, cool, run with it. It was given to you for a reason. See, you're too busy being scared to realize that there is a mission bigger than you. Really think about the world. Think about inventors. Look around. You see light. An inventor had to think about this crazy idea. They had to have this crazy vision and go out and actually execute it. And look at how something that one person ideated and made the decision to actually create. Look at how that has revolutionized the world. that person's mission was bigger than just them. Do you see what I'm saying? Your mission is bigger than you. You're placed here for a reason. You're given a vision for a reason. And you need to make sure that you are walking in that purpose and creating impact as you go. The more that you continue to ignore the vision that was given to you, the more that you continue to negate your purpose, the more unsatisfied you're going to continue to be. And the scary thing is you're going to leave nothing behind. See, I became an entrepreneur for 2 reasons. And if you agree with these 2 reasons, as I say them, comment below, because you are my people. You are my person. I became an entrepreneur for 2 reasons. 1, to build a legacy. I'm not out here building a little business just because I need a quick buck. I'm not out here building a little business just because I'm bored and I need something to do. No, I'm creating a legacy. I walk with purpose. Every business decision that I make is intentional. And even in times where I don't know what decision to make, I ask for clarity. I lean on certain resources and people that God has placed in my life, and I ask for clarity. The second reason I became an entrepreneur is because I need to leave a legacy behind. So not only am I walking in my purpose as I'm here today, but I want that when I am gone, right? When I'm not here anymore, I want to know that I have impacted some way, somehow. I want to know that I have either taught a class, sold, a class, taught via a free video, hosted an episode of a podcast, sold a product that really opened someone's eyes and help them tap into a more abundant life, that help them change their way of thinking. And then they're able to pass that on and pass that on and pass that on. That's what I want. That's the legacy I want to leave behind, in addition to the fact that I want to leave behind things for my children and their children and so on and so forth. So for those 2 reasons are the reasons I became an entrepreneur. Now, obviously, there's some tactical things that have to happen behind there, like finding a problem to solve and so on and so forth. But the whole point is, it's bigger than me. It doesn't matter if you have a physical product. It doesn't matter if you are offering a service. It does not matter. You need to identify what is the impact that you intend on making on people's lives. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind? When everything is said and done, what will people say about you? Will they be able to say the things that I am saying about my grandfather? Will they be able to live with lessons that you've given them? Will they be able to see and feel how you've changed a certain aspect of their life? Will they be able to do that? I can honestly say that, yes, I will be able to have people say those things about me. And every day I am working and walking toward my purpose. And in that, I am executing with efficiency and with passion to make sure that all of the goals that I have set, and that most importantly, the vision that has been given to me, is executed to the best, and honestly, not even the best, because sometimes we say best as a way to be a scapegoat. It's executed with the full effort that I have within me. Honestly, I can go on and on, but I want to share another little story with you. So, I turned 5 on April 15th of 2024. And I know you're not supposed to date the podcast and blah, 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 but I just did. And my grandfather passed on April 18th of 2024. On April 1st of 2024, I also lost someone who was an impactful man within his community. More importantly, an impactful man within my husband's life. And most importantly, an impactful man inside of one of my closest friends' life, her father, right? And it came as a shock. Unlike my grandfather, who was lucky enough to live to see 104 years old, isn't that insane? Unlike my grandfather, who was lucky enough to live to see, wow, 104 years old, Pastor Luke did not live to see that age. He was pretty much half of that. And this is not something that you just see coming, because what is going on in the mind of my friend and her sisters right now is the fact that they won't be able to walk down the aisle with their father on their wedding day. He won't be able to experience certain things with them that they haven't experienced in their life yet, right? And I'm saying this because although all of those things are true, and there are a lot of life milestones, such as seeing my friend actually finish residency and become a full-fledged doctor, and, walking her down the aisle and things like that, and seeing her have her first kid and her second kid and maybe her fifth kid, I don't know, right? And seeing her have all of these accomplishments, although he won't be there, the impact that he has had on his family and, oh my God, on his community, it is felt. At his celebration of life, there was no parking spots. We were using overflow parking. They had, literally, they were down to the wire trying to find a church that was big enough to hold all of the people. And then at his actual celebration of life, person after person, we had people in government for Miami-Dade, different pastors from different churches speaking, so many videos, so many songs, so many kind words. That man was impactful. And something that my friend said to me is that he was actually happy. He knew that he had came and did everything that he was supposed to do. So the moment when it was his time to go, he wasn't sad about it. He was happy because he knows that he has lived his life and had been walking in his purpose the entire time. And I am a witness to that. And all of those people, I want to say it was probably like 700 people who were at his celebration of life, were a witness to that. My husband was a witness to that from the time when he was young to him being almost 30 now. My friend, her sister, his wife, they were all witnesses to that. That is the power of impact. So I ask you again, what is your impact? And what are you doing daily to walk in your purpose, to make sure that impact is felt now and for years to come. Y'all, this was literally just the tip of the iceberg. I am actually super proud of myself that I didn't ugly cry. I only teared up. So shout out to me and shout out to God. Amen. Because baby, this was a heavy hitter for me. And for me to be able to record this so soon after everything, it shows a sign of resilience. But most importantly, it shows that your purpose can ignite a passion within you that will allow you to get the energy that you need to keep going, even in times of grief, even in times of doubt, and even in times of fear. So if you are watching this and you are currently experiencing any of those feelings, or if you have recently experienced any of those feelings of grief, doubt, or fear, I ask of you to get clear. Get clear on what your purpose is. Get clear on what that is. And you will find peace in that. And you will find this new wave of energy that will allow you to keep going. And honestly, baby, I'm about to go 100 times harder now. Because the two people who raised me, I mean, my parents are amazing. They're great. But the two people who raised me are now gone and they're looking down on me. And baby, I am not going to disappoint. Everything that they have instilled in me, I need to make sure that the fruit of their labor blossoms tenfold. And it's this new hunger, it's this new hustle that is within me. And as I take you on this journey of hustle talks, as we go through these episodes and these seasons and these guests and all the things, I hope and I pray that the lessons and the insight that I share and that my amazing guests are going to share allows you to ignite your path on your entrepreneurial journey as well. And that's it, y'all. That is the first episode of the official Hustle Talks podcast. I hope that you truly enjoyed this, and I will see you next week. Bye.